Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Plays, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Ojiro 2 dilemma, problem, annoyance, whatever you want to call it, and kind of just give our thoughts on the hero in general. What are some things that people are wanting to be done about it, kind of like how we've gotten up to this point, and what we can do moving forward. I really would love some community feedback with this. The whole point of this type of video is for just a discussion point, just to facilitate discussion between you all in the comments. So definitely leave a comment down below. If you're new to the channel, again, welcome. Just starting the channel, coming over from another TCG community, really going to try to make some consistent content for you. So if you like the content, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. If not, let me know how I can do better for you all, and we'll get right into it. So again, this is supposed to be kind of a discussion-based thing, so I'm going to talk about like Ojiro 2, what my thoughts are about it, why I don't think a change has been made up to this point, my thoughts on the hero in general, and like options moving forward, and then get your thoughts on it as a community in general going into this. So Ojiro obviously came to prominence. Already was a decent character, but really is, just taken over and warped the meta, I'd say the last like 2 months or a little bit less, especially the last 2 months or so. And it's quite literally not only dominated a lot of the smaller events that we've had, or like the weekly events that we've had. Excuse me, it's late where I'm at. But it's also just created a negative play experience for a lot of players, which has generated a topic of discussion of something having to be done about the hero. So in the last 2 months, it's been doing really well in like the online weekly stuff, locals, stuff like that. It did really well in the Oceania regional, getting over half of the top cuts, if not. It was either half or just over half of the top cuts, and really dominating the meta on multiple symbols, not just on one symbol. It's literally seen success on every single symbol. I'm pretty sure there was a top 8 cutter for every single symbol on the hero, and that just shows you like the power of the hero, right? So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is why has nothing been done up to this point from my point of view? From my point of view, I think the main reason is just lack of big events. I mean, since Ojiro 2 really came to prominence, we haven't had an insanely big event. Yes, we had the Oceania Regionals, which is a big deal. But as far as like an in real life person event, we haven't had that since this hero really has came to prominence, at least from my viewpoint. And I think that they are looking at that and trying to say like, okay, we need to make sure that people cannot test to this hero and that it truly is warping the format. Because a lot of times in trading card games, like, you get like this hive mind mentality of something can't be solved or something can't be changed, when really it can be. It's just people aren't willing to put in the time or the work or the effort to do it. Do I think Ojiro 2 is like that? No, I think the hero really is an issue. But in card games in general, sometimes you can get this hive mind mentality where people just, are not willing to change what they want to change. They just don't want to have to interact with something specific. So because of that, I think they're waiting to see a first big event and see how it changes things. Because there's two real reasons you make a change to a card or a character or a hero or an archetype. Two main reasons. One, it's dominating the meta, right? Or two, it's creating a negative play experience. Dominating meta to the point where some decks are simply, even good decks, are simply not playable. So like option A on why something needs to be changed is it causes decks, cards, or archetypes that are good in general to not be playable, right? You take heroes or characters like Shoto 2, Toga, in my opinion, Shigaraki 3, trying to think of other like good characters, even good characters like Tokiyami, even though it did get a hit, Ojiro and stuff like that. Like, these are awesome S tier decks, right? Or like high A tier decks. They're literally unplayable right now because of Ojiro. Like yes, you can play them if you love them. Like, talking to someone who mains Shoto 2 right now, like, if I was trying to be really competitive, the question you have to ask yourself is, why would I play this deck when Ojiro exists? There's no reason to play it. And I think that that's like, when people start saying that, and it's actually a valid thing to say, I think that's step one on you need to make a change. The second thing, and I've seen this happen not as often, but it does happen in trading card games, and it's happened in this game once or twice, is yes, the card or the archetype or the character is an issue, but really it's creating a negative play experience. Because if you're thinking in the mind of a dev, right, you have to think from a competitive aspect, but you also have to think from a new player aspect to the game, right? Does X card, does X character, does X thing create a negative play experience that'll cause people not to want to play my game? And if that's the case, that also can warrant an errata or a ban or a change. So I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking. I think they know it creates a negative play experience already. I think they can see that in community sentiment. So now they need to see how it does in the meta. And I think that's step one. So really, you say, like, from my perspective, the reason I don't like Ojiro, and I'm not going to go too long on this because everybody kind of knows the reasons. One, it's a really insane character. It basically, on a good turn, can give +6/+6, right? Because +1/+1, +2/+2, +3/+3. You're giving +6/+6 on any given turn. On a bad turn, you're giving +3/+3. You know what I mean? And you're also cycling a card back into your hand to be able to attack with. So you're basically getting, on a good turn, 4 attacks, even though you might only have 3 in hand. And you're getting +6/+6. That's pretty nutty. And what that creates is it creates a uninteractable effect, which is one of like the killers in card games. Whenever you have stuff that's not interactable, that's when play experience really diminishes, right? You think of, like, I always use Magic the Gathering as the easiest example because there's so many non-interactable things in that game. It's one of my least favorite card games. Like, you take like Modern and Legacy, and even like competitive Commander, EDH. You have like these uninteractable effects where basically if they draw their combo turn 2, you just lose, and everybody hates it. It's not a fun experience, right? So I think that's one of the main reasons people don't like the character. So then you kind of look like, where do we go from here? What do we do? You know, there's really 3 options you have with any given card. You can errata it, you can ban it, or you can change tools around it that make it not as good, right? Because sometimes something needs something else in order to be truly broken, right? So with Ojiro, you have 3 options. You have the errata option, which is what most people are saying right now, I think. And Ojiro has its top enhanced, which basically says this attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for each different printed attack zone in your card pool. Which means on a good turn, you can get +6/+6, essentially, is the way you're looking at it. You're getting 6 value on speed and damage. Some people are saying to make that just a once per turn effect. So basically they have to pick, do they want it to be +1/+1? Do they want 1+2/+2? Or do they want 1+3/+3, which is a little bit more conditional, but it's basically a better version of like Shoto 2, right? But then some people are saying it'll make the character unplayable because then there's just characters that are better, like Asui gives +2 speed to anything as long as she can flip. And you start to ask yourself, is the character worth playing at that point? But I also think that's kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to people just saying the character's not broken anymore. The character's just good, so they're not going to play it. So I really just kind of ignore when people say that. So, like, where are the positive and negatives to erratas? The positive to an errata is people can still play the hero. People can still play the card. You know, people don't lose their favorite deck or their favorite thing. It might not be as good as it once was, but you still can play it. And it's really, really suited. Erratas are really suited for competitive base industries. They're competitive base communities, right? It's not really suited for newer players, which I think is where the negative of errata is. If I am a store owner or I am teaching a game like a Learn to Play with My Hero Academia, and I do a Learn to Play, and you open, Crow and Frog Takedown, and it's a really good card, and I tell you as a new player, like, hey, that card was so good, it's banned now because of how good it was, but man, that card was great. It still sucks opening it because you're like, man, I wish I could use this card, but you're like, oh, that's cool. I mean, at least I know it's banned, like it's not that big a deal. But telling a new player, oh, hey, you know that Ojiro 2 you just opened? That's not, the text hasn't been changed yet on the card. Yeah, I know what it says, but it doesn't do that. It does this. And this is why. It's a little bit more annoying to have to explain to newer players. It confuses them more. It frustrates them more than just a casual ban. And really, it creates a more negative play experience for newer players, which is why I think most card game people don't like to show erratas, because it makes it confusing for newer players. You have to continue to explain it in rules, and it can create kind of negative experiences overall. So it's like the good and the bad of errata. Second option is to ban the card, right? What's the positives of that? Well, you just get rid of the problem, right? Or one of the problems in card games. It's quick, clean. It's not confusing. It has little drawbacks as far as like things you have to do after the fact. You just ban it, right? The negatives to that is 2 things. One, people lose sometimes their favorite character, regardless if the character is broken or not. Some people just love playing the character, and when you ban that character, you now prohibit people from enjoying their favorite character, and you might lose some player base. Who knows how much? I don't think you'd really lose that much from banning Ojiro 2, personally. That's just my opinion. If someone's going to quit the game because they can't sweat anymore, then go ahead, have fun. But the bans do hurt people that have maybe bought in. Maybe they bought a bunch of the XRs for the hero because they're super excited about it. They don't want to, lose all of that value. Now, you kind of lose that same value with erratas, but not quite as much as you do with a ban. And also a ban from a PR perspective kind of like is telling people like we screwed up, right? Like we screwed up so bad that we now have to prohibit this card that we probably put hours of dev time into, and are basically saying that we screwed up. And some card game companies don't like to do that. So that's kind of the negative and positive of that. And then your last option normally in card games, which you can't do with Ojiro, but you could do with other cards around Ojiro, is either limit or ban cards that enable the deck, right? So you could limit or ban Student of the Art, right? Or, other cards that people are talking about, like maybe not related to Ojiro specifically, but in general, like Snack Time, One with Nature, Back Alley Haymaker, Hardened Jab, these kind of cards that are really like enabling other power cards in the format or other power characters in the format and have constantly been troublemakers, right? And when you look at cards like that can come in multiples, then you have to say, do we ban the card outright? Do we limit the card, or do we errata the card? We already talked about the positives of bans and erratas. For limiting a card, I actually don't okay with limiting a card. Like if I say you only can have one with nature in your deck, you only can have one Back Alley Haymaker in your deck, it's a little bit confusing to explain to a new player, similar to an errata, but it won't completely get rid of your archetype as a whole, and it's not as big of a deal. So that's kind of like the options. For me personally, right, I don't want to get too big of an opinion. This is more of a discussion for you as a community. But I think for me, my first option with Ojiro would probably just be an errata. I don't think it needs to be banned per se. I think you can errata the top enhance to once per turn, and the hero will just be good. It won't be broken. I think it will lose a lot of play because people will be like annoyed that the hero is not broken anymore. But the hero is not fun to play against. I mean, if I'm playing a six-hander, like I was playing six-hander Shadow 2 the other night, and I didn't even play wrong. I just couldn't do what, like, I built 4 foundations turn 1, or they built 5 foundations turn 1 with Ojiro. I built 4 foundations turn 2, kept 2 cards in hand to block with, including a one mod and a recovery time with Breaker, and I still couldn't live through it, right? At 28 health, right? There's no reason that a deck should be able to turn 2 kill unless it has like some like Exodia combo that it has. But with Ojiro, he doesn't need that. He just needs 3 good attacks, right? And he can kill you. So that's just something that shouldn't be in the game. I do agree with that. I think I would like to see what happens. But like if Ojiro goes, like where do we go from here? Do we go back to the Jiro, time frame where Jiro is really popular? Do more mid-rangey decks like Shoto and Momo and these type of decks and even Shigaraki 1 and stuff like that kind of come back into the fold. Does it stay aggro? I think aggro will still be here. You'll still see Tokiyami. You'll still see Asui. You'll still see Jiro. You'll still see these cards, but I also think people right now, I think there is more exploration in set 4, but I don't think people are willing to do it because of how good Ojiro is. And that's the issue, right? Ojiro is warping and polarizing the format so much that people don't even want to take the time to try to figure out how to beat it. And that's an issue, right? There's been decks in other card games I've played where they're really, really good, and 1 or 2 people found out a way to counter it, but overall wasn't that big a deal. Here, like, there's people that literally won't play heroes that are A-tier heroes, good heroes, because they're like, what's the point? And I think that's an issue. So we'll see what happens after Florida. I highly anticipate they'll make a change to Ojiro after Florida. I think Ojiro is going to do really well in Florida. I'm hoping like literally just everyone brings him, and then they just kind of have no choice but to ban it or errata it. But we'll have to see. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to do it. The reason I made this video is just kind of generate some discussion. If you enjoy this, agree, disagree, let me know in the comments down below. And I would love to hear y'all's feedback. If you like this type of content, again, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to My Hero Academia creator, leave a like and comment on their stuff so we can get more people seeing the game. And yeah, thank y'all so much. Y'all stay safe this week. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Plays. Thank y'all.